Cool. We're live.
Happy days.
Took me long enough to get you on here.
Took a little while.
This is the second podcast you've ever done?
Second. Took me about 1.5 years to do the first.
Why is that?
I just don't find myself that interesting.
I feel like that's everybody's like qualm, right? It's like most people think that the mundane shit that they do every day is not that interesting. But like I find I can make interesting conversation with anybody. Which is why like what I want to try and do with this podcast is make it about everybody. Like everybody's got a story, you know what I mean?
So
and
true.
it could be the most basic thing in their life that they enjoy, that they do, and the story to doing that or getting there or something is like crazy interesting to every other person. So a lot of people don't realize, but you've got like a pretty crazy story and a pretty cool timeline, and you've done a lot of shit, and you do a lot of shit that's very different to most people. So we'll try and like, because this is going to be multiple episodes over forever long, so we might even try and just cram all as much as we can into like an hour or so and see how we go. But you cut your teeth in like the firearm industry, I guess. Like you were shooting
Yes.
clay targets
Yes.
from a very young age. Out of all the sports, like why clay targets? It's not very well known and mainstream, you know what I mean? Like out of everything that you could have done, why clay targets?
For anyone that doesn't know me, I guess I'm like the world's most competitive person. So growing up with 2 older brothers, whatever they could do, I could do better or equally. So I guess the sports continued to transition as they transitioned into something new. So they took up clay target shooting, and I was like, well, I want to do that because they can do it. So yeah, I was like 11 3/4 and was like ready to get my firearms license, and that's how it started. So that was the age I started clay target shooting.
Can you get a firearms license at that young?
Yeah, so junior license is 12 to 18. So you have to be supervised by a full licensed person still, but you can go and shoot at a gun club and shoot competition.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And you like worked your way up the ranks. Like you were a very young age, and you were competing at like elite level. And your brother competed at Commonwealth Games.
Yes, correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think I was 16 when I shot world championships, I think. Yeah, I think I was 16. Yeah, so Australian team, which was pretty awesome. I shot for Victoria in down the line for a long time, and then transitioned over to ISSF trap. For anyone that doesn't know that, that's what they shoot in the Olympics. Yeah, so a couple of years in that, made the junior women's team, shot world championships, travelled Australia-wide for that. It was awesome. I loved it. But I guess it's a hard sport to be in because it's not a spectator sport, so there's no money in it. There's no longevity in it. You're forever funding your trips. Like, Mum and Dad funded all of our trips, which kudos to them because that would have been bloody expensive. But yeah, so I got to the end of that, and I got probably a bit burnt out, and I didn't have any love for it. And I think anyone that does or gets into high-end sport, I guess, you know, once you get into that elite level, that the politics start to kick in and the fun goes out the window. And
Would have been it would have been fairly hard for you at a young age if you were beating adults too, yeah, or like as good as or better than adults. There would have been a lot of egos at play there.
yeah, absolutely. And the people that were your friends are now your competitors, and yeah, I lost passion for it, I guess. And that was probably a segue out of the gun industry for me. I was sort of helped Mum and Dad out in the shop, so they had the shop in 2006. So I was still in and out of there, but then yeah, once I sort of gave up clay target shooting, I was done with the industry for a while.
It's got style.
Got really stale, yeah.
But you were still shooting recreationally, yeah?
I would go and clay target shoot every now and again, and I would go hunting every now and again, but I kind of stepped away from it for a bit. I just lost all love for it.
What got you into the hunting side of firearms?
My dad.
Yeah.
So, for as long as I can remember, he's always been hunting. Hound hunting was the main thing when we were kids, and then he sort of gave that up. I don't know, I might have been like around that 13, 14-year-old age maybe. And then he got more into stalking, and then that's when I later on started to pick up and go hunting with him.
What triggered you? Like, because your dad did, and you wanted to hang out with your dad. Was that the main driver, or did you have an interest in hunting? Like,
No.
you were curious?
Yeah, I was super curious. And because I'd always gone out like spotlighting and fox hunting and rabbit hunting and all that sort of stuff as a kid, I was pretty excited to take up deer hunting. Plus, I love being outside. It's my jam.
And where you grew up, obviously in the Vic High country, like it's a very beautiful part of Australia, beautiful part of the world too, but very difficult from a hunting perspective. And we're talking like sambar deer here, which I would assume is predominantly what you would chase. What was that like in comparison now? Like, so sambar deer at the start was all you knew essentially, but now because you've travelled all over the world and you've hunted all over Australia and all different sorts of places, how do they compare, I guess?
I still think it's the hardest deer to hunt. I really do. I guess because it's so different every time you go out. The weather's unpredictable, the wind's unpredictable. They're so savvy. How something that big moves through the bush and you don't see it blows my mind. And I guess the hills we have down home are pretty big. So... And I've hunted New Zealand, and I'd definitely say New Zealand's hills are steeper, but at least you're mostly hunting these big sort of open faces, so you're not bush bashing. Yeah.
That joint is fucked. Like,
literally.
When you have to cross like a patch of tea tree or a creek,
Yeah.
Man, no thanks. It's nasty. It's nasty. And I'm smart enough to try and do it with a bow.
Yeah, a whole new level.
Awful. So I guess... How did you... So you started hunting at what, 13, 14 you said?
Oh, probably more like 5.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, so you've been hunting. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So when you started... So you went through... I'm just trying to get your timeline right. So you went through and you did all your clay target stuff, and you're obviously probably doing bits and pieces of hunting in between, but you would have been fully consumed with training and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So when you sort of gave that up, you focused predominantly on hunting.
I sort of... I'd probably say... Yeah, went into a bit of hunting, and then I stepped away from it for a couple of years, I reckon, and then got back into it because I just had no love for any of it, to be honest. And then I guess I'd moved away from Mansfield, so I think that was more part of it. It wasn't at my back door. I was living down in Melbourne, so I was spending a bit of time like fishing and diving and stuff down the beach. And then I moved back home for a little bit, and I was like, I forgot how good this is.
Because you were from, like, you stayed in the city for a number of years and you were like, stay out of that. And I do that too. Like, I'm from Western Queensland, and then you think it's shit while you're there, and all the small town stuff and the gossip and all the shit. And then you go away for ages, and then when you come home, you're like, fuck, like, I didn't appreciate this enough. Like, just simple things. Even just the serenity of it all. Like, you can be 5 minutes out of town and just have peace and quiet.
Yeah. You can drive 15 minutes out of town and go hunting.
Yeah,
like,
legit.
They're all the things you take for granted, and you see it, like, people come up and spend all of their time and money just to go to Mansfield for the weekend to go hunting.
Do you, so when you started going out more frequently with your dad, when you sort of like really got hooked on it, which I know was a period of your life, of your early life, did your old man like progress you into that, or was it just keep up?
No. That was like in the deep end you go and swim like fuck. My dad does not hunt slow, so he hunts very old school, like back in the day when there was bugger all deer. So there's a lot of fast moving and that sort of thing. So it was keep up or get left behind, which I'm glad. Like, I'm glad I didn't get special treatment in that respect, because I learnt all the hard things fast.
It made you a better hunter, you reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I guess like the fitness side of it comes into play too. And when you're moving fast, obviously you're burning more calories and that sort of stuff, and you're getting used to that sort of energy consumption. When did you take your first animal? Was it a hind or a stag, or what was it?
Hind. I don't even know how. I was younger than 20, definitely. I couldn't even tell you how old I was.
Do you remember it?
Yes and no. It's really funny, actually. I think because I've just been doing it for so long, it's not something that's like super prominent in my mind. But yeah, I've actually never thought about the age I was the first time I took a deer.
And I honestly didn't know, so I was super curious.
Yeah.
So then I bet you could tell me about your first stag though.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was that?
Would have been like 5 years ago. I shot my first stag. Yeah.
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 So that's a long period of time between pre-20 and 45.
Oh, sorry, Samper stag, I should say, actually. 45. It took me a moment.
Slow.
Yeah. So first Samper stag was 5 years ago. I actually shot my best fallow buck probably maybe 8 years ago. Yeah. That was a cracker.
Yeah,
I remember that story clear as day.
It's on your wall. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It's a really good Australian fallow.
Yeah.
That was may as well digress for a bit because that's a pretty cool story too. Like you were hunting again with your dad, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you were on a property in New South Wales somewhere.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Run me through the fallow rut and what that's like.
That was a pretty exciting trip because that was my first ever fallow rut. Like I'd hunted fallow deer down in Victoria, but I'd never hunted the rut. And so we went a trip away, and it was quite funny. Like we'd been hunting for about, I think maybe like 3 days or something, and it was hot, it was dry. It was just one of those ruts that was a bit slow, and most of the croaking was at night, and you weren't seeing heaps of action. And then this one morning, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that, ridiculous. And I can hear my dad, like we're sleeping in swags, I hear Dad rustling around. I'm like, are you awake? And he's like, yeah, can you hear that? I'm like, yeah, are we getting up? It was pitch black, and all you could hear was these two fallow deer just like going for it. And so we
just pull your mic in front of your face a little bit for me.
That's better. So we got up and got dressed and basically just walked in the dark really slow. It had a little bit of moonlight from memory, so we could sort of see where we were standing, but just basically tracking towards sound. So yeah, we laid down, and it was full on for like an hour until sun started to come up. And yeah, the sun came up, and I was like, holy fuck, we're like 50 meters from these deer, just absolutely going for it. So that was
run hard too. They fight.
Yeah.
They're rank. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was pretty exciting because obviously this was my first rut, and I was like, oh my God, what is going on here? So yeah, we laid there for a bit, and this is actually a good experience for anyone who spends not a lot of money on optics, which I did because at this point I had only just sort of set up a basic rifle, didn't have lots of money at the time, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I could see the fallow deer clear as day, had brilliant binoculars laying there. Every time I went to put my gun up, I was like, I cannot see shit. And it was just the clarity was rubbish.
Because it was low light.
Yeah, correct. Wouldn't pull any light. It was awful. And I was laying there like wigging out going, oh my God, these deer are going to run off by the time I could see anything. So that went on for about half an hour, and then I could finally make a clear shot. And Dad's like, do you want to shoot them both? And I was like, no, you lay down two, I'll shoot the first one and you can shoot the second one. So anyway, yeah, I pulled the trigger, dropped it straight away, and Dad shot the second one. So then we got up there. That was pretty exciting. And then got up there, and I was like, oh, don't look too bad. And since they've been fighting heaps, and then we rolled Dad's over, and literally, like, mine had completely torn its entire side to pieces. So yeah, I kept the cape off mine. Fair to say, I didn't keep the cape off his.
Oh, because your deer flogged
had
into pieces.
Literally flogged it to pieces. Like, I don't even know how the deer was still alive.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they rut so hard.
Yeah.
That's wild. And what was the big driver for you hunting back at home, say, regardless of where else you went, but hunting back at home consistently? What was the biggest driver for you? Why were you continually doing it?
Food and exercise, I would say. I love food. I love a snack. And I guess that connection back to your food has really been something that's been big on my priority list for a long time. But I really enjoy being outside. That's kind of my place of peace. So that's probably the main one.
a lot of people probably would argue that hunting is not peaceful. But it's mostly the people that don't understand. Like, I know I'm preaching to the choir here. Like, how would you explain that out hunting is peaceful?
I guess everyone has their own interpretation of what's peaceful for them, but I guess it's just the solitude you get and being alone in the bush and hunting something that spent generations of its life being chased by tigers is pretty exciting, like being able to come in on an animal like that. But I guess it's just that peace and quiet for me. It's a time where I can just switch off and enjoy what I'm doing.
And the food side of it, do you think that plays like an integral role in us as like primitive humans?
Absolutely.
And do you think I mean, I'm asking questions I already know the answer to, so it's sort of hard for me. But like, explain to me the value of, and I've covered this like with heaps of different people before, but it's cool to get all different sorts of perspectives. Is like, explain to me the value of sourcing your own meat yourself versus going to the store and buying it.
Well, for me, it's back to that, like, being connected, right? Like, it's so easy to walk in the supermarket and be lazy, basically, and buy meat off the shelf. And I'm not saying I don't do that, because I still do that. But predominantly, like, I think it is ethical to go and harvest your own meat. Like, that deer is generally pretty chill before you take its life. It has no idea it's coming. So for me, I think... I don't know, it's been a really important part of my life that I've just really enjoyed being able to do that.
And you're big on like really healthy, clean eating and nutrition and all that sort of stuff. What's your take on game meat versus store-bought beef, for example?
Well, I guess the benefit of venison is it's super lean. So I think like if you wanted to go down that route, that'd be the meat of choice for me. It's super easy to keep it clean because you don't have heaps of fat to deal with.
It's delicious. If you cook it properly, it's delicious.
I mean, when you turn it into like empanadas and dumplings and things like that, probably not really healthy.
Yeah. That's your short
but
form.
Delicious.
It is. It is. Do you what was I had another question off the back of that and I can't remember what it was. Run me through, let's circle back quickly while I'm thinking of it. Mm-hmm. Let's circle back to your first stag. Run me through that story.
That's another funny story, actually.
Is this the stump one?
Yeah.
It is a stump one. Yeah, cool.
A lot of my hunting stories are quite funny, actually. I think this is why I enjoy hunting with people, like, because I do lots of silly things and then have moments where I'm like, wow, that was pretty dumb, but you got it done. So, yeah, I was out with my dad again and, come across this spot and it was sort of a face that had morning sun, which was awesome. I thought this is an epic spot and I'm like glassing, looking. I'm like, oh God, that stump looks really like a deer. But anyway, and then I kept like looking at it, looking back, looking away. And Dad's like, see that stag there? I'm like, all I can see is this burnt stump. I don't know what the hell you're looking at. And he's like, that's a deer. And I was like, oh, and it like literally lifted its head because it was like bedded facing towards me. So I couldn't, like, it had its head back.
Because they rest them like that.
Yeah. So you couldn't see the antlers. And I was like, well, that's really embarrassing. So yeah, it turns out it was a stag. And yeah, so I was able to get in position and just took him then and there, which was pretty epic. It was a super early morning, like I think it was done and dusted in like 45 minutes, and it was so funny because I was just like, I've been walking hills for hours and kilometers to shoot nothing for years. And I'm like, I deserved that.
You work for it.
Yeah.
What's your with the whole like anti-trophy hunting thing, right, versus traditional hunting? Or I think most trophy hunters are conservationists and stuff anyway. I think people have it very wrong. But why not just hunt hinds and normal animals for meat only? Why be looking for a trophy animal?
Well, there's still got to be balance, right? We can't have just shooting all the hinds. It's the same as we can't be shooting all the stags. There's no balance in that. So I am not opposed to trophy hunting as long as people are doing the right thing. I mean, people that go out and just shoot things willy-nilly for the sake of it. I mean, thermals have become legal now, so that'll be a bit of an interesting switch. And I'm just not a fan of it because, like, it took me 10, 15 years to shoot a stag. And yeah, I wasn't probably committed to it as I was in my late 20s, but it took me a long time and a lot of hard yards to shoot my first stag. And then you see people who go out and are able to just quickly look at a face, glass it with the thermal, there's one, and make the move. Like, where is the challenge in that?
I tend to agree. I think, like, it takes the hunt out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to rifle hunting, but I don't particularly it doesn't excite me. Like, I don't have an urge to get into it.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with it or anything like that, but I find that a similar concept is like, now I argue this with like the bow hunting side of it, seems just so much more immersive and it balances the books a bit, right? So like you're at the animal's mercy way more with a bow than you are with a rifle.
Yeah.
And then a rifle versus a rifle with a thermal or thermal optics to assist you is like that next level. Where it's like hard with a rifle, especially with sambar, hard with a rifle, but like drastically easier with a thermal.
Absolutely.
Do you think it's still hunting?
I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it.
Are you?
And a lot of people will probably be like, for me saying that, but I don't care.
Are you biased because of how you learnt to hunt and all that sort of stuff? Or, yeah, like...
I probably am. I definitely am. And I guess, it's probably no different really to the whole life scheme with fish, right? Like it's a whole nother argument. But I didn't get into hunting to just go kill things. Like, and if I wanted to do that, I would take a thermal. But I got into hunting because I enjoy walking in the bush. I enjoy the challenge of it. I love shooting guns. I've been obsessed with it for my life. Like, there's so many other reasons why I hunt. It's not just to kill an animal.
I 100% agree. It's all about like, and this has been said multiple times on multiple platforms, but like the actual death of the animal is like 1%, less than 1% of the total of the hunt itself.
The hard work comes after that.
Legit. Well, up until that, and then after it's even worse.
Yeah.
If you're not lazy and you want to take the meat, it's like that's the fuck part.
Yeah. Especially when you're a small human being.
Carrying a 15 to 20 kilo day pack and then putting 20, 30 kilos on top of that, walking out.
Literally.
Nasty. Especially where you're from.
Yeah.
I guess you're very unique in a way like that you're a strong-willed female in a very male-dominated industry. And I guess you've had a persona there where like you're very... clinical with how you present yourself and all that sort of stuff. And like, I'm not shitting on anybody. People do whatever they do for whatever reasons they do it, and if they enjoy it, that's fine. But and this is in a lot of industries, right? Like ladies get their tits and their ass out for attention and for sponsorships, for money, for whatever reason. Or
sex sells, right?
Yeah, or they just like it or whatever. I don't know. And I'm not going to get into that because I don't really give a fuck. But you, for example, have never done that. And you've still found your way. And I'm really keen to understand how that was for you, because obviously you trying to do that would have been quite difficult compared to the majority of how other women in any industry, for example, do that.
Well, for starters, I guess I've never done this for attention. Like I love this industry and I love hunting, so I guess it just fell off the back of that. And when I first started working back in the shop, whenever I moved back from overseas, was sort of when I first came back into the shop and got serious about it and, committed my time to that. And it was actually really difficult. Like, I worked in the construction industry for a while, so I've always sort of been in male-dominated industries, but it was like a whole new level when people would come in and just blatantly ignore you, like men would ignore you because you're a woman behind the counter and what the fuck would you know? So luckily for me, I'm a stubborn mole and I was like, right, I'm going to make sure I know more than you. So next time you come in, you have to deal with me. So it was probably a good 6 months, and I like rang my sales reps and were like, can you come to the shop and teach me this? And I want to learn this, just so I knew. And it was good. Like it was a good way for me to learn to sort of stand up for myself and be strong-willed, and it was quite an interesting time. I think it built me as a person. And then obviously internet-wise, I've never wanted to be one of those girls on the internet. Doesn't excite me, and I like sharing my story because I enjoy what I do. Like, I'm not sharing it to get likes, I'm sharing it because this is me out enjoying my life. So yeah, I do think it's important for women to present themselves the right way. Like, why do you want to be a piece of meat? I couldn't think of anything worse. All the grubs inside your inbox? No, thank you. Solid pass.
And I guess for you to be taken seriously, like, how long did it take? What did it look like? Run me through that. Like, not just from a sales perspective in a shop, right? Like, just to be respected in the industry. Because, like, you get, like, 20 DMs a day just from random people asking questions and, like, no grubs. Like, just people asking questions about stuff and touching base with you and all that sort of stuff.
Which is pretty cool. I'm glad that I can help people out. And I guess that's probably what made that easy for me, is because I enjoyed that part. Like, I enjoyed being the person who had the information to then help someone on their journey. Like, the amount of people that I sold their first gun to, or, you know, pointed them in the right direction to shoot their first deer, or blah, 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 which was, pretty epic. But probably a good 12 months it took me to sort of get myself in a position where I was confident enough to make calls. And I guess I would say, I'll say 12 months. It's funny when you think about sort of the gun trade and that sort of thing, it's quite a small industry. And a lot of people, I guess when I came back to it, I knew from clay target shooting days. So there's a lot of our suppliers that a lot of people I used to shoot clay targets with work for them. So I already had connections within the industry to start with. But yeah, that just grew over time, and then here I am. I still don't think I'm anything special.
It's good to stay humble, I think, in that respect. But yeah, you're just very unique. Like, there's not many people in the game that have skin in the game. Yeah. That have like a status like yourself.
Yeah, I think it does come down to loving what you do, though. Like, I really do love what I do.
It definitely does. That's why I'm like super committed to doing these podcasts now, because like I fucked around and I had this year off and didn't do them, and then was just like, I really miss doing podcasts. Like, the video stuff's cool. Like, I enjoy it. I love it.
And it takes you to pretty
better
amazing.
than a 9 to 5. Yeah. And I do some pretty cool shit. I get to go. Like, I shot PBR last night. Yeah.
So cool.
I was in Alaska a month ago, or 2 months ago, whatever it was. Like,
Darwin,
Thailand, like all over Australia, New Zealand. Like, it's crazy. But
you've been to more places like this year than people have probably been in their lives.
Probably. Probably. It's crazy when you think about that, because like I don't realise until I sit back and look at it. I'm like, fuck, I've got a very weird life, like a good life. And I figured, and I know a lot of people, a lot of high-end people, a lot of normal people. I know a lot of people all over the place. Yeah. And then I figure, like, one, I really enjoy talking to people, and two, it's hugely valuable for me and for the people. For, like, I feel like I have not an obligation, but I've kind of an obligation, I guess, to share it with others. Yeah. And to give insight, because everybody's just a normal human being. Yeah. And you can be a world champion, you can be whatever else, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to find your way, same as everybody else, and doing the best you can with what you have. Yeah. And I feel like I have like an obligation to, because I have such a big network, I have an obligation to like really pull that out of people and talk to people about it. And I really enjoy it, which is why I refuse to do them over the phone or Skype or whatever. And then had this year off because I was so busy and holy fuckery in my life. And then next year, or from now on, next year, I'm like super committed to doing these podcasts. Going to try and punch out one a week, and then also do them because fingers crossed. I've got a fucking bit on next year actually, but and because I've got all the camera equipment, lighting, and all that sort of stuff.
Makes sense.
Like, why not shoot them? Don't be lazy. Just take them with you. You got them on you anyway. Just fucking film a podcast. Because normally the people that I shoot jobs for, because I don't do mundane shit, I shoot cool stuff. Yeah. Are always interesting people that when I can get a gap, if I'm away for a few days, a week or whatever, I can get a podcast in. So why not just film it?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a good way for people to learn. Like, I know when I go away on big trips or trips I haven't done, I try and find podcasts on tips and stuff, or, you know, like
100%.
what gear to pack or what shoes to wear or etc.
100%. And you can go like full Joe Rogan, and you can go full like Chris Williamson, Jordan Peterson, like all those really high-end dudes that have really deep conversations with really high-end people, really articulate, really intelligent conversations. But you can still get stuff from Joe Blow having a crack, doing a podcast with his mates.
Yeah.
In their house. Like, you can still learn something from all of that stuff. And like, I feel like I started this podcast because I wanted to, and it was in the fishing industry, and then fucked around in the hunting industry and outdoors industry, and then went like BJJ people, and then I'm like, I know too many people to have this in a niche.
Yeah.
And I essentially am going to be my niche, or I am my niche. So I'm just going to talk to whoever I can, whenever I can, as much as I can. And I get like so much value from that personally, but also like it's a good way to, like, for me to build my vocabulary, my intelligence, knowledge, learn from other people, gaining a better perspective, which is where I have so much respect for Joe Rogan, right? Is because, love him or hate him, like he walks the fence, because like he'll talk to someone from the far right and he'll talk to someone from the far left, which means like that his decision then, like, because he's got so much information, it gives him the ability to make his own decision, and it's highly educated because he has so much information from left, right, front, back, whatever you want to call it. And he has the ability to make a way more intelligent decision than 90% of most people that are blinded by just watching the news or just listening to what their mates do or whatever.
For sure.
He creates his own environment for himself to learn so much, which I really respect. Same as Chris Williamson.
Yeah. I'd love to have dinner with either of those two.
My life goal, and I've said this to you before, and I've said it to a lot of people before, is just a fucking 10-minute, half an hour coffee with Joe Rogan. Yeah. I don't even want to be on his podcast. Don't want to podcast him. I just want to sit and have 20 minutes with the man, 20 minutes with the man.
I think that'd be pretty interesting.
That dead set life goal. It'd be epic.
I don't think 20 minutes would cover it though.
No, it definitely wouldn't, but he'd probably only have 20 minutes, if any. And it'd probably cost me money, who knows. But I'd pay for it. It'd be awesome. Maybe one day, we'll see. But yeah, back on sort of, excuse me, you're doing it because you love it. The point I guess I was trying to make was like, because you love it, you're way more invested in it. You're way more driven to do a better job. It doesn't feel like a job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like a chore to put content out. It doesn't feel like a chore to promote yourself well and do favors and pass on advice and ask for advice and help the industry itself grow, because obviously you care about the industry winning, not necessarily yourself.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, I mean, you only got to look at how the world's going now. I don't think there's a lot of time left for the hunting industry. It's not a safe place to play in future-wise for a business. Like, who knows in another 10 years what that's going to look like, and they're trying to shut parks up and, you know, banning hunting in South Australia, that sort of thing. And I guess the other thing for me is I would love to be a good influence for younger girls wanting to get into hunting, which is probably big for me.
I guess it's very daunting.
Yeah.
As a young woman, let alone a woman in general.
Correct. And I guess I'll say I'm lucky, because I think I started clay target shooting so long, and I've been in sports where it's 90% men, and I've hung out with those sort of people in my life. I guess it made me quite a strong personality. So I've never really taken shit from people, period, regardless of, you know, where I was. So for me, and then like obviously having my dad to be able to teach me those things, and having brothers that did the same thing, I was one of the lucky ones, because it was easy for me to be a part of it. I've grown up doing it. So I guess I didn't have that huge intimidation. Whereas now, like, I couldn't even imagine being 30 or 20 or whatever and walking into a gun shop and wanting to buy your first gun.
And being taken seriously.
That's the hard part. And I think that was one thing that I tried to make sure I did well, was don't make people feel stupid, because you were stupid once. Like, just because they don't know what the caliber is or which way to hold the scope, like, they got to learn somewhere. So I think just that was probably something I took from when I first went back to working in the shop, is like how shit it felt to be treated like you were stupid and didn't know. I didn't want anyone to feel that way. That's,
I think, a very rare trait, don't you think?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I want to see everyone win. Like, I would love the hunting and outdoor industry to grow. I don't want to see it get smaller.
I'm the same with the videography industry,
Yeah.
like the media industry and stuff, and film and photos and stuff. Good. Like
Yeah.
podcasting, good. Like,
Yeah.
like it pushes everybody to be better.
Yeah.
And there's enough room, and this is one of my biggest arguments, and it's my biggest gripe with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many egos and shit. Like, there is enough room in the game for everybody.
Literally.
There is enough room in the game for everybody.
And I was going to say, if you actually sat back as a person and focused on yourself and your own business and stopped worrying about what everyone else was doing, you would realize that too.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And that's exactly like, for example, there's a couple of boys here that run their own businesses in the media industry. We share everything.
Yeah.
Contract to each other, like talk about pricing together,
Yeah.
like share everything because it lifts the industry.
Yeah.
It's the people that do it the full time that have the hardest struggle, obviously. But the people that come in and do it like at one camera, which is where I started. I started with one camera, so I can't argue, like go hard. But the people that don't know the pricing and all that sort of stuff and don't want to share knowledge and don't want to like keep it all to themselves and then they sit there and undercut everybody, it fucking hurts everyone.
Yeah.
It hurts the clients because the clients have this unrealistic expectation of what things actually cost, which then when that person then moves on or whatever because they're doing it as a hobby or they're studying and they're getting a bit of cash, whatever, and they move on. Then the client goes, oh, well, fuck, it's actually, why are you 3 times the price?
Yeah.
Nah, man, that's what the actual normal price, the market is at, right? And you don't take into account that I'm working a 10-hour day and that I have to now go home for an hour and sit and back up all the footage, all that sort of shit. The clients don't see that. And I get on and around about this all the time, pissing me off. But they're the people that undercut the market and create unrealistic expectations for clients. And then that hurts the industry. And it puts a sour taste in clients' mouths. So they fuck videographers. Yeah. And fuck photographers. They're too expensive or they're not expensive enough. The market's too up and down, yada, yada, yada.
Which is crazy in this world, right? When all we have is like social media.
Legit.
Like our lives revolve around it.
Yeah, 100%. And like you just be respectful, right? Like just don't pinch each other's work. But there's enough room in the game for everybody.
That's right.
There's enough businesses in, I don't shoot it, but real estate, for example. There's enough real estate for you to have your own little agent, like client, like retainer, basically. Things like that. And everyone helps them run. Like I share LUTs with a couple of boys here and like gear. Like if someone needs gear, I'll loan gear. Like I won't rent it. I won't even hire it. Just take it, man, and give it back. Like if you break it, you pay for it. Yeah. And vice versa. Like I borrowed a mate's studio the other day for a shoot. Like a competitor. You would call him a competitor. I don't know him very well, but he's a nice guy and he's doing his own thing. And he let me in there like.
But what, like, it achieves nothing hating each other, right?
Yeah, but unrealistic. Not even hating, just like brick walling everybody.
Yeah. And it was the same working in a shop. Like I got along with all the shops. Same thing. We were far enough apart to not have to worry about each other. On some days you'd be like, oh crap, I need to get that for a customer in 2 days and the supplier's out of it, but I know I can ring this shop and they will probably sell it to me and we can work it out later or whatever. And that's how it works. Like same thing. I don't understand why people are always trying to cut out all the other businesses in that trade, because if everyone's gone, who's left? Like, right, you're going to have Bunnings.
Yeah, you literally will.
That's what it'll be.
Literally will.
Bunnings, like, BCF, and Anaconda.
And it'll come. Yeah. That shit will come. Mm-hmm. Those big franchises will grow. Yeah. Like, look at BCF, how BCF's like Stock and Yeti and shit. It's a matter of time before they get real bespoke and real high end and they start employing people because they can afford to, employing people in the know, ex-guides, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it's scary. I don't know. I'm big at supporting small businesses. I just think they're great for community and Australia. Like, why do we want these big corporate companies in? What does it achieve?
Yeah. I think it's good for the consumer, like the daily consumer, right? The one that just needs to go and buy a fishing shirt or like the weekenders and all that sort of stuff, right? Because you get like, for example, your gun's like $9-10 grand.
Correct.
Not many people are going to own a $10,000 gun.
No.
To go
and I didn't when I started. Let's just clarify.
I'm just saying, like most people will go and buy a $2,000-$3,000 gun, and that'll be their gun for life.
They spend $1,000.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So like, and for those guns that are very simple and basic, like they could go into a BCF type shop, right? And then because it caters for that market of people. Yeah. Whereas your your smaller local shops, they have the specific gear that works for that region.
Yes.
And they have the range. You might pay a little bit more, which is normally the case, but you won't get the level of advice, the level of customer service, someone to sit with you for 30 minutes, an hour, and talk you through three different guns and say, well, you can pay $2,000 for this one, you can pay $5,000 for this one, you can pay $7,000 for this one. And here's the differences in all of them, right down to like firing pin, everything, like the most minute detail.
Yep.
And like that, you won't get that, or you'll do well to get that in a big franchise store. And you can walk in to the smaller stores and go, hey, have you got this? No, but I can get it.
Yes.
Those big stores that's it.
Yeah.
What's on the list is what it is.
Yeah.
If it's not on the list, we can order it in. If it's on the list and we don't have it, we can order it in. But anything that's not on the list, stiff pickies, man.
Yeah. And I would always go out of my way to find stuff for people, or, you know, try and find an alternative at least. Like, at least you're getting that customer service and the opinion of someone who actually goes out and does it. Like, that's the other thing I think people forget. We're not counter monkeys.
No, 100%. Off topic now, but how do you go with the fitness side of it, right? Circling back to hunting, excuse me.
Yeah.
How do you go with the fitness side of it and the strength and physicality side of it, right? Because like it's black and white. Women are just not as physically capable as men genetically, right? It's not a fucking offensive thing. It's just how it is. It's a primitive thing. It's how it is. I know you don't take offense to it, but there's people that do.
Yeah.
Most of the time, that's the case.
Yeah.
Because it's just how evolution is, man. It's how humanity is.
Absolutely.
So how do you go, I guess, because you predominantly hunt with men and have hunted with men because it's a male-dominated industry. How do you go with your fitness and your physical health and your diet and all that sort of stuff, and being able to keep up, pack the same, hunt the same?
So I've probably been a little bit lazy this year, let's be honest.
You've had a bit on.
I've had a bit on this year. That's another story. So I've always done a lot of strength training. I would probably say and not blowing wind up my ass, but I'm pretty strong for a small human being.
She can bench as much as me. That's not even joking. We go to the gym and we train, and we have the same weights. We don't have to swap weights.
Yeah, so I'm probably lucky in the respect that I've always been fairly strong, but I do, like if I know I've got a big trip coming up, like when I go to New Zealand and stuff, I'll prep months before that, and I'll just wear a backpack, and 3 days a week I'll go and walk up a hill to make sure that I am physically ready, A, because I'm usually going with someone and I don't want to let that person down, and B, like I don't want to be uncomfortable while I'm out there. So if I can control 1% of that, then I'm going to try and control it. I've always done lots of hill walking. I've always done lots of strength training and circuit classes, that sort of thing. And then obviously once winter hits, I usually go hunting every week. So I guess that takes up a lot of the time for that.
Yeah, well, match fitness is the real deal, right?
Yeah, you can't
replicate it.
No, you can't replicate that. Especially when you go into like places like New Zealand and stuff, and you're backpacking and you're carrying 20 kilos on your back, and
pack hunting is the way to do it. Yeah. It's a fucking vibe.
Yeah.
New Zealand, you've been there a few times?
Yeah. So
I've
been to New Zealand itself about 7 times. I love that place.
Yeah, it is a good spot.
Yeah, it's always been a favourite of mine. But I've only hunted there twice. So this year I did the red deer rut, and I did the same the year before. And I've been successful on both trips actually, so that was pretty cool. I've done a drop cam both times, so basically you'd pay to go and hunt on a block, and they drop you off and off you go, and you live out of your tent for 5 days, and you got 5 days to get it done. So yeah, this year was a fairly hard slog actually. So I chose the same dates as I went the year before, and we missed the rut by about
a week or two.
Yeah. So it was pretty quiet. By the time we got there, it was dry.
And dry as shit.
Holy.
Yeah, it was dry.
Yeah, I'd never seen it like that. So that was hard work. I spend a lot of time glassing, a lot of miles walked, picked a deer that I thought I was going to drop the hammer on. which was pretty cool. We closed the gap from, I don't know, maybe 6Ks.
It was a fucking long way, man.
From what we could see through the spotting scope, it was like...
What did it take us, 3 hours?
Yeah, something like that.
3 or 4 hours to get down to the ridge that it was on.
So we had to go down, back up, and then down again.
Yeah, and then down and around a corner and up again.
Yeah, so... do I regret dropping the hammer on that deer? Probably not. I don't think so. But it was cool, actually. It was a cool hunt for the day. I think we walked like 15
Oh, which one are we talking about? The one we didn't shoot?
The one we didn't shoot.
Yeah. The one, oh.
Yeah, we got to like 20 metres on.
Oh, yeah, that
Should have shot it with a bow.
I should have took my bow. No, I thought you meant the one on the same ridge, but the one you wanted to shoot with the big crown.
Yeah. So, yeah,
It's a
that
sore
was a sore
He was
spot.
pretty, man.
Yeah, he was really pretty. I'm a little bit mad about that one, but that's okay. That's hunting, right?
Yeah, we got winded at the last minute. Literally,
last
had
minute.
to pop over one little ridge, and you would have had him at what?
400 metres.
No, you had him at 400 when he ran.
Oh, when he ran, yeah. So it would have been like probably like 200.
Less, if that. He was he was on the face side of the ridge we were still on.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe 100, 200 metres.
Yeah.
We had Jack on the, so like, it's hard to explain, but we're all camped up on the highest point of this big valley.
Yeah.
Overlooking this big valley, and you could glass all the faces of the ridges from your camp basically in the morning. And we saw this stag, went out and put a move on him, and Jack, who was with us, sat up at camp and glassed for us, and he was texting me on the inReach telling me where the deer was while we were stalking.
Yeah.
And
that kind of feels a little bit like cheating, doesn't it?
It kind of is. It kind of, I don't know, I felt weird
you
about it.
know what though, if we hadn't read his message, we probably wouldn't have fucked it up.
That he winded us.
Yeah, because remember he was just like, you need to drop down further, but then we ended up dropping too far.
No, I don't think it was his fault.
They was blaming me anyway.
It wasn't his fault. I don't think it was his fault. We had no idea, right?
No.
Like we could have.
Oh no, because we were coming over Blind Hill. So yeah, we probably should put that into perspective. We did walk like
a squillion
kilometres to then crest this ridge where we last saw the deer bed.
It was like a little nipple.
Yeah, it was like it was. But that's when we saw the antlers of the other stag that was with it.
Yeah.
And then we like snuck in.
It was the wrong deer.
20 metres away, and I was like, oh. And we're like backing out, and there's like hinds just like eyeballing us. And I'm like, oh, don't fuck this up.
Yeah.
Don't fuck this up.
And that's when Jack started messaging me going like, nah, bro. Wrong deer. He's down further.
Yeah.
And he had like, 6 hinds or something on the bench.
Yeah.
And a bit further. And instead of cresting over the top of the nipple, we went around the corner of it, around the back of it. But I think it would have winded us regardless.
Yeah.
It was a big gust right at the back of our neck.
So unlucky.
It was nasty. Right at the last minute.
Literally.
But
I felt pretty defeated at that
He just
point.
had that real nice shape. Like he was quite heavy, but he was like a real
Perfect
nice 6x6
12.
and had that real good curl, like full
Yeah.
hard semicircles. It was sick.
Yeah. I don't want to look back at those videos through this one scope. It makes me sad, but that's hunting though. And
you still end up getting a nice deer.
literally, I still ended up shooting a nice deer on the last day, day 5.
Nice 6x6.
Yeah. That was probably only a couple of Ks from camp, really.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, we actually, I think Jack spotted it the morning. So Jack was with us on the last morning, and
didn't he find it like the day before or 2 days before?
Maybe, yes.
And decide, and maybe he was like tossing up whether to shoot it or not.
Yeah, and he shot another deer.
He shot another one down the bottom. Poor bastard.
Yeah.
Walking back at like 8 o'clock at night.
No. That was a slog, and ran out of water.
Yeah, he ran out of water too.
Had to give him a lecture on that one.
Yes, ran out of water, and then we got down there, and I seen him hiking up in the middle of the night. Like we hiked halfway down to get him. He where he came out of, where he got into, and where he came out of, he was like at the bottom of the bottom, so he had to hike all the way back out with a deer.
Yeah, like 2 or 3 ridges over from camp.
Long
it was
way.
amazing how far he'd gone. It was cool. He had a pretty cool story. Yeah, but by the time we caught up with him, he was the poor guy.
He was cooked. So we just put it all on my pack.
Yeah,
and I sent it.
And I just wandered back with Jack. It was great.
Yeah,
got to hear the story.
It was cool though.
Yeah. So last day, put the miles, and we sort of kind of, all 3 of us rushed across this backside. So the deer was kind of riverside, this side of the ridge, and we kind of kept left-hand face of this ridge and
so hard
around.
to explain.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And then came in and popped over, and there he was with his hinds. Bedded. And I left the boys behind and crawled down on my belly, like literally shooting downhill at this deer, like trying to hide behind these little baby tussocks. And I could see he was on edge, and I'm like trying to range past this rock, looking at him, and I think it was about 240 meters. I think I shot him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah, it was a good way to finish it.
He was nice to you.
Yeah, I would have been. I would have been happy even if I didn't shoot anything, because I don't know, the experience of just going over there and hunting is pretty epic.
It is.
Makes me pretty happy.
It's a beautiful place.
Oh,
it's a beautiful place. I'm going to try and give it a proper nudge next year with the bow. Mm-hmm. I'll say that, and then I'll end up just wanting to pick up my camera the whole time.
Yeah, I'll take the camera.
It's one of those kinds of places. Yeah, gonna have to get savvy shooting.
I'll carry your deer out for you.
Nah, bro. No.
Oh, that used to make me so mad when people said that to me.
Oh yeah, because you're a woman.
Yeah.
Let me carry a gun for you.
No, absolutely not. Touch it and I'll fucking snot you.
Oh dear. And now you've recently got the fishing addiction, the fishing bug.
Yeah.
I see.
I've had the fishing bug for a long time, actually. So long story short, fly fishing has become like my bug now. So I've always loved fishing. Obviously freshwater fishing mostly for me because being down south and being in the high country. So I'm going to say about 3 years ago, I took up fly fishing because young Maxie, who, maybe it was more than that, I don't know. Young Max, who used to work in the shop for us, was leaving for uni, and he was the fly fishing expert. And I was like, oh crap, I better learn how to do this. Otherwise I'm not going to know how to sell this. So yeah, that was sort of my incentive to get into it. And I'm not going to lie, I hated it. Like, I despised it when I first started. I was like, why do people do this? Like, caught in trees, couldn't catch a fish, took me ages. And then I caught my first fish and that was it. I was hooked. Yeah. Yeah. So it was like, I got pretty into it that I was, going out after work, and every Saturday afternoon after work, I'd be out fishing. And I think that's probably lucky being in Mansfield because there are so many rivers around there. You can poke out for 15 minutes, or you can drive an hour, or you can go and do an overnighter. And
the best river is 5 minutes from town. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what nobody says.
The little feisty rainbow trouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's only little fish in there.
Yeah.
But it's so fun just roll casting those bad boys with like dry fly indicators.
Tight water. Yeah, you can't even get like a back cast in. It's just like a little.
I'm there like saltwater hauling, like throwing 40 footers and shit like a dickhead. Mel's just rolling them over with a wrist and smacking bulk fish. I outfished you that first day.
You did actually.
I did.
I let him.
Yeah. I thought they were actually pretty decent sized brown.
Yeah, that was a good brown trout actually.
Yeah, that was good fun.
That was good fun. Yeah, I
watched him eat it.
Yeah, and you didn't even like rip it out of his mouth. Like,
no, I didn't strip set.
You set it properly.
I actually trout set, but that was the whole thing that was in my head.
Yeah. It's like, I was like, so anything you were worried about.
Don't strip set. Don't strip set.
And it got like such soft mouths too.
Yeah. I got to work out the whole men thing. Like, I understand the concept, but the technique, I've got to get it right.
Yeah.
Like, I understand how to do it. I just don't know how to I understand how to do it. I just physically struggle to get the action to turn line back. And
it's hard. And I remember even when I first started fly fishing, there's a lot going on, and then you've got the river flowing towards you, and your fly's coming back, and your line's coming back, and you're like, oh Jesus, guys, I can't move fast enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to think about until you just get the hang of it, and then it's just like you just walk and flick. And yeah, I love it. I'm so hooked on it.
Yeah, well, you were doing it every day, and so you fly fish in summer and then hunt in winter.
Yeah, so I had kind of the perfect balance, and it was good too because like I get to kind of the end of winter and I'd be like, oh, I'm sick of hunting, which is so funny. I think it's just like I shouldn't probably say sick of it, but it's like the early mornings and the long days and stuff, and then you just get a little bit stale because it feels a bit repetitive by the end, and then trout season kicks in, you start trout fishing, you're like, yeah, I love fishing, and then you get to the end of trout season, you're like, can't wait for hunting to start. So I think it's the perfect balance. Yeah.
Have you got any big goals in mind in 2025, animals and fish, or both animals? But
yeah, I really want to do America next year, Alaska or even Wyoming. I haven't quite decided yet, and I'm still funding those trips. It is part of the problem. So yeah, I've been putting in for points for a few years now for Wyoming, so I'd love to go shoot elk, or like top of the list Alaska wise, I'd love to shoot a mountain goat, caribou, black bear. That's kind of like my top three. Moose was my number one, but if you look at the price tag of a moose now, it's like, I think I might have to start a Feet Finder account.
Alaska can confirm is incredible. And those goats are incredible too.
Yeah.
Like where they are and why the fuck they're stark white is insane. Like
you should probably give people a bit of context on that one.
I probably should. I went over there shooting a job for the Slots Media Boys in the UK. They do some really cool stuff. Do a lot of documentaries and like longer form films and stuff like that. They do some really cool stuff. They got some really cool clients, and they were kind enough to give me an opportunity to shoot for a company over there. And we had a mountain goat hunt that was actually pretty incredible. Where we ended up going, I flew from Townsville to Melbourne to Townsville to Sydney. Anyway, I flew from Townsville to somewhere, capital city. I can't fucking remember. I catch that many planes. From there to LA to Anchorage in Alaska. Woke up the next morning, jumped on a bush plane and flew 400 miles ish.
I think you landed at like 2 a.m. and then flew.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did too. I landed at 2 a.m.
Alaska
in Anchorage,
time.
Alaska time. And then I woke up, the plane left at 10 or 11.
Yeah.
It was something weird. Like I was cooked. Didn't make a difference. I was fucked and flew from Anchorage via bush plane, 3-seater bush plane, all of our gear, 400 something miles
Crazy.
east.
Yeah.
Into literally the middle of nowhere.
Literally.
And like one, sort of hard to explain. It's like a big mountain range that almost touches the coast, but it's like it's not marshland, it's like forest with like a lot of river systems that touch the coast. And there's this one big mountain that touches the coast by itself. So like imagine like a mountain range at the horizon, like a big high mountain range. And then a forest and like glacier country that touches the coast in a U shape, and in the center of the U shape is this big rock that touches the sea. Like you can see the sea. That's where the goats were. It was crazy. It's just one massive rock.
But that's why everyone wants to go hunt them, right?
Fuck, it's crazy. And like it took us so long.
Yeah.
It is like, it's like, I can't even explain it. It's like you look at Alaska and it's like overcast and everything's black. The sand's black. The tree trunks are black and everything's
It's
deep
like the end of the
green
earth.
and wet. And like it just doesn't look like, it's like humans do not belong there.
Yeah.
And then you start the hike and you start in this like fucking thick fern shit, sliding up tree roots and going vertical in this, like, it's like cold tropical rainforest. It's weird. And then you climb like vertically through all the tree roots and the pines. And then we're walking along this tiny little ridgeline, like that bears and goats and that frequent. Literally walked back down and found a massive fresh bear shit. Like up this little finger, slip to your left, dead. Slip to your right, dead. Up through all these pine trees and like nastiness. Break the tree line, then you get into like berry bushes and fucking, I don't even know what else the rest of them are, but like 8 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot high berry bushes, like pushing through that shit. And like young pines and just nastiness. And like shit with thorns on them and fucking horrid. And you get out of that and you break the tree line. And then it's just thick, like kind of tussock grass, I guess. Thick grass. And just steep. And like low oxygen and cold and
Nasty.
fucking windy as shit. And I'm carrying like a stills camera, a video camera, a pack full of camera gear. I had like probably 35 kilos, I reckon.
Madness.
35 kilos on my back. And then, like hike up to the very highest point and there's goats on this shaly, nasty face, which was absolutely crazy. Like it was so cool to film them.
Yeah.
Because they're so like, they're pure white, right? Contrasting. And
they stand out.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time glassing and trying to work out which one was a billy.
Yeah.
Because they all look
Yeah, so bizarre. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the guy I was filming for actually shot one, but it could have fallen any other way and we could have got it, and it fell the one way that we couldn't retrieve it from. And it was just, where it went was just like in the middle of nowhere, like death. You would need like full mountaineering crew and gear to get it out, or a chopper, and you're not allowed choppers to get anything out other than bears.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Can't call in choppers to get your game out.
Really?
Only bears.
And that's heartbreaking too, right? Because that's your only tag. Like, that's the scary part of a tag system. You make a call to take the shot, knowing the risk, and then the risk falls the wrong way.
Yeah.
Fuck, that'd be heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's wild. And like bumped a bear there. Like one of the boys went for a piss and to have a look around the ridge, and like he spooked a grizzly. Like I'm pretty sure it was a grizzly that was sunning itself that we filmed a few hours earlier. Spooked it. It ran onto us. and then it spooked itself and then ran down like away. And it was like, I don't know, 20, 30 meters away from us, something like that. It was pretty funny.
I think that's the fascinating thing about like going to America and Alaska and Canada and all that stuff is being out hunting and knowing there's something that's potentially hunting you.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Like you're a snack.
It's like like Africa and all that sort of stuff excites me. Even like all of the big cat country in the States, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, grizzly bears are dangerous, black bears are dangerous and stuff. But like fucking cats, man.
Mountain lions, you don't actually realise how many people die every year from mountain lions. Yeah.
You're dead before you know it. Like,
yeah.
At least a grizzly bear, you're probably going to like at least see it before you die. A mountain lion's just going to...
Do you want to know?
Well, I guess not.
Please kill me fast.
Well, at least you're a chance of reacting, right?
Yeah, true.
Like mostly like... Because cats are like ambush predators. You got a fucking 200-pound cat on the back of your neck before you like even know what hit you. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Not that I know a lot about it, but it's like... Yeah, that sort of shit's crazy. America's just insane. Like even just ravens. Like they're like the size of like a black kite, like a small eagle here, a small hawk.
Yeah.
Big, evil blackbirds are making it like in the morning.
That eerie noise.
It's like low light, and the sun is weird there because it doesn't go over the top of you. It goes like around. It's because it's...
Yeah, because you were there in autumn.
Autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of like circles like around you. Like it rises and sets over the ocean. It's weird.
Yeah.
And it's super disorientating for someone who could track, like for me, like from down here, you can see which way the sun rises and sets. So you sort of know which way is east and west and shit. There it's fucked.
Yeah.
The only way I knew which way was which way was south is because I could see the coast.
Yeah. How many hours of daylight?
Oh, it's like, it gets dark at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
And it's daylight by like, I can't even remember. It's like 6 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah, so that's a lot of hours of daylight too. That's pretty confusing.
It's weird. Like you're eating dinner at like, you feel like it's lunchtime and you're eating dinner. It's odd. But yeah, like even like it's low light in the morning and you're in the like dark, heavy forest, like deep height, like huge pines and stuff up in a mountain. There's like ravens flying in the sky, like it's like dead set last frontier. I know, like it was the hardest physical thing I've ever done.
And would you do it again?
I would 100% go back.
Yeah.
And I wish I could stay longer.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things I got home, I'm like addicted.
Yeah.
I have to go back to Alaska.
That's why I think like, you know, the mountain goat and that sort of thing is on my list because I'm like, right, what's hard? Like,
yeah,
I like hard.
People shy away from hard. What do you think that is? Most people.
I think it's just the way people are built though, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you, because I'm not one of those people. I'm like, if it's hard, I want to do it. If it's easy, I don't want to do it. Because then everyone can do it, right? I don't want to be like everyone. It's not me.
And is that this whole drive? Like, obviously, you want to do hard because, like, to get to where you need to get to, you have to go do hard things, right? That's just a given for anyone that has a good bit of stink in them. Like, that's pretty normal. But, like, do you want to do hard things because you want to be, what's the Hormozy saying, one of none?
I'd say so.
Yeah, like, do you want to...
Plus, I really thrive when people say, you're not going to be able to do that. I'm like, watch me. And I will make sure I do it. Yeah.
And, like, that's even harder for you being a woman too, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, like, I say that and I don't know, like, I feel like the hunting industry is a pretty kind place. Yeah, you get your idiots on the internet, and I can't say I've really, really had that encounter because I guess that comes down to the way you present yourself as well. But I've had heaps of guys help me out. Like my friend Jack, he taught me how to shoot long range. Like I can't say that like there's been people in the industry that have been like, well, no, I'm not going to help you. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but more to the point that I'm making it sound like it's a daunting place, but it's probably not really once you get to know the people within this community.
I think that's the hardest part for people in general, not even just in hunting, but like it's just taking that first step.
Yeah.
It's like they get to the edge and they're like waiting and waiting and waiting and they'll wait there forever.
Yeah.
It's just like, just fucking have a go.
Yeah. And you don't know if you don't like put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
And I think it probably comes back to a lot of worrying about looking stupid. And I didn't worry about that at the start. I was like, well, I already look stupid. Everyone already thinks I'm stupid, so I might as well just look stupid until I get it right.
The thing is, right, like, and we had this discussion the other day, it was like embarrassing things, right? Farting on a plane, for example. I think that's what we were talking about. We were talking about something like that. It was something stupid. It was something fucked up. It was like farting on a plane. It was like doing something silly on a plane. Most people will think about that.
Be mortified.
That too. But like for like that flight, for example, they'll think about it. They might go home and tell their missus, and like, fuck, this chick dropped her guts on the plane. They might do that, right? But after that, it's gone. Yeah. And you're highly likely to never see those people ever again. So why do you give a fuck, man? Yeah. Why do you care?
I guess the internet has changed that a lot, though, right? When people do things because you're scarred with it, when you do get those comments.
Yeah, that's true. And then it's plastered on the internet.
Yeah, you can't take it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that comes down to also being careful about what you post. Like, you don't have to put it on the internet either. So, yeah, I don't know.
But presenting yourself in a way that's respectful too. But I mean, just those like these nitty-gritty things. Like, there's still, even then, if it goes viral, it's viral for what?
Yeah. Does it achieve anything?
Every now and then it might pop up again in 2 years' time. It's like, oh, remember this funny fucking video? And that's about it. Like, who gives a shit, man?
No one. No one's going to remember you when you're dead.
No, and it's no excuse. There's no excuse not to go and try things.
Yeah.
And do things that you are interested in and you're passionate about, I reckon.
That's what worries me the most, though, right? Like, dying and wondering whether I did enough. I think that's like a huge driver for everything I do. I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway. Probably can't afford it, but I'm going to do it.
That's mine too. Like, I always just bite off. Like, my motto is bite off more than you can chew, and chew like fuck. And it has a cost.
Yeah.
Like, I've made many mistakes, and it's cost me a lot.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, financially. Like, I've made a lot of bad decisions that I thought were right at the time.
Yeah.
And they've burnt me hard.
Yeah.
And I'm still struggling to come to terms with a lot of them. Like, I'm fighting my own demons as well. Like,
I think everyone does, though. Like, you can't, when you think the decision was right at the time, then was it wrong?
Yeah, well, it's a good perspective to have. And at the end of the day, like, I can sit there and go, well, fuck, like, at least I found out.
Yeah.
Imagine going there and never knowing anything, like, and being like, I wish I did, or I could have, I should have. Like,
or living your life to please someone else for the rest of your days.
That.
No, thank you.
That took me way too long to come to terms with that. Like, to accept that, I guess.
Yeah.
Too busy trying to please everybody else. And now, like, I've got the people I care about and the friends that I have, and like, I've made a lot of very like recent mistakes, like really bad decisions, and having those has completely changed my perspective on life. And I want to be better, and I want to do better, and I don't want to make those mistakes again. So I'm like, there's value in the pain.
Absolutely.
From that stuff, because it teaches you don't have that knowledge at that point in time, but you gain it from making those mistakes.
Yeah. And
it pushes you so far forward by just committing, and no one knows what the fuck they're doing, man.
Nope.
I'll argue till I'm blue in the face that anyone does.
Yeah.
Day to day. I think like just being thankful and trying your best, and then you fuck up, own it.
Yeah, being accountable.
And suffer. And suffer. Take responsibility. Be humble. Say like part of this was my fault, or all of it was my fault. Some of it was my fault. Learn from it, and then move forward and don't make those mistakes again, and be a better version of yourself, so you can be a better person for those people that you do care about, and you don't make those mistakes again.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got on that train, but it's a fucking good point to
hit. It is.
And it needs to be, I need to reiterate it every podcast just about.
Literally.
Because I see so many people unhappy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I see blame outwards.
Yeah.
And it's easy to do. It's
so
always
easy
to do. Everyone's got the victim mentality.
Yeah.
But you made decisions that led you to that situation, and you might have been fucked by somebody.
Yeah.
And you might have or you might have fucked yourself, or someone might have fucked you, something else, like all the bad shit in the world might have happened, right? But you made decisions to put you on the path to get there.
Yeah.
And you have to own a part of it or all of it, and have to say that some of it is my fault, and it allows you, it opens up your mind to being able to process those things and think about them and learn from them.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go, it's everybody else's fault, the world's fucked, I'm unlucky, shit always happens to me, that mentality, you block and you put a wall up in your mind where you negate all of that positive feedback from that, all your learning experiences and knowledge from that.
Yeah.
You block all that
and what's the
shit.
point of making the decision if you're not going to move on from that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. There's many hard lessons in life, and you've just got to be, I can't find the word, too late at night, but open to like taking the good and the bad, because life just is, it's just not that way. It's not all good, man.
It's
and you
not
can go
easy.
looking for a fucking good day every day. It's not going to happen. Life's fucking hard.
It is.
And most of it's hard, and nearly every decision that you make has a cost. And when it's wrong, the cost is even greater.
Yeah. And I feel like the older you get, the bigger the cost is, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Because you're lower on time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the decisions are normally bigger because you're normally at this age, like with 33, you're normally earning more money, or you've got liabilities, and you've got shit that's like collateral damage, right?
Literally.
At
More
that
responsibility.
age. Yeah. So like the cost is greater for making those bad decisions. But yeah, like I think.
I also think too, though, that all those bad decisions lead to make you the person that you are. So I don't know. Sometimes the bad decisions work out good, in my opinion.
If you allow them to.
If you allow them to.
A lot of people don't allow them to.
Yeah. And just owning up that, you're not perfect.
You're not.
No one is.
No.
And don't expect to be.
No. I totally agree. On that note, let's wrap this thing up.
Yeah. It's probably been ages, hasn't it?
No, it's an hour 12.
That's all right.
Yeah, we said an hour.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
But we will definitely do more. And when we got more planning and more time, we'll sit down and do a proper one.
Yeah, sounds good.
Because we have much to discuss.
Lots.
There's a lot on the list.
And there's a lot coming up.
Yeah. This was just a taster to who is Melanie Kirley.
You're welcome, everyone. I told you I'm not very exciting.
We'll see. There's a lot of cheeky little info in there that I'll just got to pry out and put on the table that a lot of people don't know.
I'm nervous.
Nah, I'll play by the rules, promise.
Sounds good.
Alrighty, let's wrap this thing up. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.